Okay, lesson 10.2, parabolas part 2. So the second half of this section in the book has to deal with using a lot of the information from the first half. I know the other video was somewhat longer. This one hopefully won't be as long. So to be able to identify the focus and the directrix from an equation, you first want to make sure that the equation is in the general form that we use for a parabola. So either y equals something x squared or x equals something y squared, which you will notice in this case it is already set up that way. So now remember, you know stuff about A, and in order to find the focus and the directrix, you really need to know the distance from the vertex to the focus, or the distance from the vertex to the directrix. Okay, and in order to find that, you have to think back and remember that we also learned that the absolute value of A equals 1 over 4c. Okay, we know A in this situation is negative 1 over 24. So just substitute it in for A. So you have negative 1 over 24 inside the absolute value equals 1 over 4c. Take the absolute value of the left. So you have 1 over 24 equals 1 over 4c. If you notice, you have your numerators are the same, so your denominators must set equal to each other. So you should say that 24 equals 4c. You divide by 4, so you end up with 6 equals c. If you don't notice that, that part there, remember you can always cross-multiply to solve, so that you would have 4c times 1 gives you 4c, 24 times 1 gives you 24, and you end up here with c equals 6. Just remember you have to keep going. You actually now have to think about, okay, if it's a y, you have to give the focus and the directrix. So if you look and you think about the equation, it's a y equals, so it should either open up or down. It's a negative a, so it should open down. So now you need to know that your focus should be here and your directrix should be roughly in that location. So your focus is actually going to have to be a negative point, and 0 is for your x, and then you have negative 6 for your y. And then your directrix line is a horizontal line, so it should be y equals. And since this focus is negative, the directrix should be positive 6. And then there would be what you would need to find. So why don't you try these two and see how you do. So pause it now and try these two problems. So now that you have your C values, now you need to make sure you remember, go back and give the focus. Okay, so looking at this example number 2, you would see that it's a y equals, so it should open up or down. 1/8 is positive, so it should open up, so that means your focus should be somewhere here and your directrix underneath. So your focus should be a positive number. Since C is 2, it should be the point 0,2, and your directrix should be the equation y equals negative 2. For example 3, again, you have a y equals, so it should open up or down. A is positive, so it should open up. So you're going to have your focus at 0.25 over 4, and you're going to have your equation at x equals negative 25 over 4. Try these two also. Pause it now and try these ones. Okay, so here for example 4, we get c equals 9. It's an x equals parabola, so it should open left or right. And since A is positive, it should open to the right. So we know our focus should be inside the parabola, and our directrix should be a vertical line. So the focus should be the point 9,0, and the directrix should be the point x equals negative 9. Excuse me, the line, not the point. For number 5, it's a parabola that opens to the left because A is negative and it's an x equals, so your directrix should be your focus should be a negative number and your directrix a positive number. So your focus is going to be negative 13 halves, 0, and your directrix is going to be x equals 13 over 2. Okay, and sometimes you're going to have to identify the vertex, the focus, and the directrix when given the equation in quadratic form. So remember, we have gone over parabolas before in a previous unit in the first half of this course, back when you took Algebra 2. So think back to when you had a parabola and you knew a different form for the parabola. You knew that you could have y equals a times x minus h all squared plus k, and that is known as vertex form. And if you had an equation put into vertex form, you would be able to pull out the vertex. And if you know the vertex, then you have A, you'll be able to find out what the focus in the directrix is. So what you want to do is you want to change this equation on the left to vertex form. So remember to do that. If you knew, if you had this in standard form for a quadratic, it would make your life easier. So instead, let's take this quadratic and let's solve it so that we have it set as either x equals or y equals. Okay, so let's take this one and make it so that it's x equals. So we have our equation set as x equals. Now, just like you learned back in Algebra 2, it's very similar to that. You want to remember to do that your vertex is going to be negative b over 2a for your x value, and then to find out what your y value is, it's going to be taking that number and putting it back into the equation to find the other. In this situation, they just reversed, so just think about the fact that you're going to find what the y equals first. So remember, do negative b over 2a, so you're going to have negative 1/4 over 2 times 1 over 16, which all simplifies down so that you're going to end up with your y value equaling 2 after you do those out. Okay, because this becomes a positive, so it's like you're doing 1/4 divided by 1/8, which remember is 1/4 times 8 over 1, which gives you a simplification of 2. So now take this 2 and put it back into your equation here so that you can solve for x. Okay, so you may need to pause this to do that. So after you find out what x, after you substitute in 2 for y, you end up getting that your x also should equal 2 when you do your substitution steps. So now you have your, you have your center, and your center is essentially at 2, 2. Not your center, your vertex, excuse me. So once you have the vertex, now we can almost start using our vertex form that we wrote here up above. We know h and we know k. Alright, so now we need to find A. Well, remember when you changed the form here in the box here, we found A already. A is 1 over 16. So we know that A equals 1 over 16. So now we need to find essentially what C equals in order to find out where the focus is and what the directrix is. Oops. So if you go and you take the A and you use your absolute value of A equals 1 over 4C formula, you're going to get that your C equals 4. So it may be helpful now to sketch a picture of all of this work. So if I were to make a sketch, I know my vertex is at 2, 2. So here is my parabola's vertex. I also know that A is a positive number and that the equation is an x equals. So it should open then to the right. So here my parabola is going to look maybe something like this. I also know that then my focus must be somewhere inside this parabola and my directrix should be somewhere behind it. So the distance, remember, from your vertex to your focus is 4. So if I'm already at the ordered pair 2, 2 and I need to go to the right 4, I'm going to add 4 to the x and I'm going to get 6. So my focus point is going to be at 6, 2. In order to get the equation for the vertex to the directrix, remember then I'm also going to the left 4. So if I'm already at 2 and I'm going to the left 4, I'm going to then end up at negative 2. So the equation for the directrix should be x equals negative 2. So all three answers that you need to have are your vertex is 2, 2. Your focus is the point 6, 2, and your directrix is the equation x equals negative 2. Okay, so take your time going through these. There's a lot of steps involved when you're starting with an equation, so go back and review this if you need to. Pause it whenever you need to, and use the examples to help you.